Namaste, you're on the Nation at 5. I'm Anand Narsimhan, and this is a big exclusive, and that's why we've come into the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, this is about the Zawahiri leak. Was this a strike planned from within because this was a betrayal from within? Were the Pak and the Taliban involved in giving up Zawahiri, the al-Qaeda chief who was there in the heart of Sherpur, Kabul? In the heart of Kabul in Afghanistan, did those who gave flight path clearance know that the target was Ayman al-Zawahiri? Was the al-Qaeda chief given up by those who have benefited from the al-Qaeda in the past? Was he given up by those who were at one point in time his benefactors? These are big questions. The leader of the al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, was killed in Kabul. US President Joe Biden authorized a precision airstrike against Ayman al-Zawahiri. How is it that a person sitting in a balcony could be killed right from up the skies with a missile and nobody knew? That was something which was unbelievable. So now we are given to understand that Zawahiri was hiding in a safe house in Sherpur in downtown Kabul. 2 Hellfire missiles were used in the operation that killed Bin Laden's successor. Zawahiri was a key architect involved in multiple attacks in the United States and also had turned his attentions towards India, where he was busy spinning this web of vitriol to try and radicalize and instigate Trojans among us to act against society in India. He was deeply involved in the planning of the September 11 terror attacks, but it seems there is much more to it than meets the eye when it comes to the neutralization of Zawahiri. Now, top intelligence sources are telling CNN News 18 that there may have been a plot to engineer the assassination or the killing of Zawahiri, and this could have come from within the Taliban. It could have been the Haqqani camp, or perhaps those who are upset with the Haqqani's interference, and the Afghan Taliban, as for the Mullah Yaqub faction, could have done this. There are names that are doing the rounds. The details of Zawahiri's location may have been leaked to Pakistan via the Haqqani camp amid a power struggle in the Taliban regime, and it could have been all done for money. The bounty on his head and the bounty on the head of some others. Was that the reason? There are so many dynamics that we are getting you information right from inside, deep within those sources. And we'll also get you a talking eyewitness account, somebody who was there when the strike happened. All of that through the course of the next half an hour here on the Nation at 5. First, let's understand al-Zawahiri's location. Was it leaked? This is what top intel sources are saying. The Taliban leadership has called it a big jolt to its reputation. That's what they have called it. They are also, the strike actually took place 600 meters from the presidential palace. Right now, the Taliban leadership have got into a huddle to decide the regime's line, what their line would be. But let me tell you, they are not sitting in Kabul to have this meeting. We'll get to that in just a bit. Now, Mullah Omar faction and the Haqqani group have internal problems. There is a tussle because the Haqqanis are more Pakistani, that's the perception. And Mullah Omar's faction is led by Mullah Yaqub, Mullah Omar's son. They have internal problems. Mullah Yaqub is suspected to have disclosed the location during his Qatar visit. And the fact that Foreign Minister Amir Muttaqi is suspected of leaking details to Pakistanis. Muttaqi has real estate and business interests in Pakistan. And of course, there is a consensus in the Taliban regime that Pakistan leaked the location. Muttaqi and Mullah Yaqub could not have leaked the location to the Americans, but this could have been leaked to the Pakistanis, who then perhaps leaked it to secure the $25 million bounty. And the Taliban also believes that Pakistan leaked the details for IMF loan sanctions and hoping that they will emerge out of the FATF grey list if they cooperate in the elimination of Zawahiri. So did the Pakistan and Taliban give up Zawahiri is a question. Zawahiri was actually in Karachi and was moved to Kabul via Chaman border, and this happened late in 2021. Only the Haqqani group was actually aware of Zawahiri's location because reports say that the place where Zawahiri was neutralized, that place belongs to Sirajuddin Haqqani's key aide. Now, many say Mullah Baradar was not even aware of Ayman al-Zawahiri's location. So the Haqqanis knew, and now they are saying that somebody else from the Mullah Yaqub or Mullah Omar faction knew. Did they divulge the location to the Pakistanis, and did the Pakistanis give him up? Because why is it that a Reaper drone will be allowed a flight path and through Pakistani airspace without the Pakistanis curious to know कि टारगेट क्या है, लोकेशन क्या है, बंदा कौन है या किसके ऊपर स्ट्राइक करने वाले हैं? The Pakistanis will not ask this question, or did they already know? So that's why the clearance was given. These are questions which remain, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get you more information on this. I have Tariq Farhadi, former advisor to the Afghanistan president, and Dr. Monica Verma, strategic affairs expert, with us at this point. Let me ask you, Tariq Farhadi Saab, namaste. What do you think is happening? Is it the Mullah Omar faction, or is it the Haqqanis who have all done it for money and to curry favors with the Pakistanis who again want money?
It is not the Haqqanis for sure, but anybody else, yes, it's possible. And Pakistan also didn't see Zawahiri as useful at this time. And it is clear that Pakistan wants to establish intelligence sharing relationship with the United States and improve the relationship in order to get off the FATF list, and also in order to get the IMF package, which is a very complicated affair here. But in any case, the new Pakistani government wants to favor the United States. If there is a triangle now between Pakistan, Afghanistan, United States, in this triangle, Pakistan, United States is closer than Afghanistan, United States. So that is clear. Who is Zawahiri? Zawahiri fought the Soviets 30, 40 years ago with Sirajuddin Haqqani's father, Jalaluddin. So Sirajuddin Haqqani saw sort of a moral obligation to protect this person, knowing that now that he's a powerful man in Kabul, he could set him up in a place that's safe. But al-Qaeda is not what it was before, but it does give inspiration by its videos, etc. So according to the Doha Agreement, the Taliban were not supposed to give shelter to somebody who is doing propaganda against Western countries or Western friendly countries. And so this is under this section of the Doha Agreement that Zawahiri, who is an old man and doesn't have any military activity, but just propaganda activity, became under this. And also in the United States, probably there was a need before the elections to score something for President Biden, who is going to have to show something after the evacuation, which didn't work out very well last August. So the administration is preparing a package of things that it can say have been done. And in fact, Barack Obama tweeted, he said we can eliminate our enemies without being at war somewhere physically.
Correct. So somewhere trying to justify the pullout from Afghanistan and say we can neutralize. So that's also surprising that somebody sitting in a balcony can be neutralized by machines, radar, robots and technology, and you don't have to put boots on ground. And with the Hellfire, this was not the first, it's a series, and they seem to be perfecting it with each killing or each neutralization. But the other aspect is, Mr. Farhadi, and before I go to Dr. Monica Verma, interestingly, if Pakistan wants to get back closer to the Americans, why would they make a statement what they have made where they are backing the one China policy and taking a position which is against America as far as the Taiwan landing of Nancy Pelosi is concerned? Or is it the fact that it's purely a Pakistan move to try and get funds out? And do the Taliban also now realize that they have to do whatever they can to get the $7 billion in assets which have been frozen by the Americans?
Pakistan is in a very difficult situation. The weight of geography with China is there, as it is for India. And the access that China wants to the sea through Pakistan is a reality, and projects, the CPIC project, etc., are in process there, and it's big investments. It has to succeed. That if it doesn't succeed, it's more problems for Pakistan. So Pakistan wants to play both sides, China and the United States. The army in Pakistan traditionally wants to be closer to the United States. General Bajwa, who has been here for 6 years, has not been invited to the United States, and he's going to retire soon, and he has not been invited to the United States. So they have to give some favors to the United States as well to bring that relationship closer. They have to play their politics. It's a difficult world, especially in the context of food security, energy security that we see after the Ukraine war, and Imran Khan's travel there, which was not very well timed.
Right.
Yes, I missed your second question, sir.
No. The second part is that you have Pakistan taking a clearly anti-America position as far as Taiwan is concerned. And I'm just going to bring Dr. Monica Verma. Could this also be a possibility that Ayman al-Zawahiri was not somebody or a person of interest, or not too much of an interest for the Chinese? Could this be actually that the Chinese are doing it, giving America a moment in glory and credit to go and execute what works for them? Because Ayman al-Zawahiri was directing troops or wanting to push people into East Turkestan. And he was wanting to back the ETIM and also the Uyghur movement and the struggles there, which the Chinese did not want. So is it possible that this could be just that? Tell the ISI, make sure that somehow, and the Taliban, that listen, it's the Chinese that they are migrated. It's the Chinese who are now getting access to Afghanistan rare earth minerals and to those regions and to the mines in Afghanistan. It's the Chinese who are now getting increasing control over the Bagram air base. So is this all a greater game that we have to see it in a matter of pretext that, okay, let's give Joe Biden a moment of glory that the US has neutralized somebody who has done something to them 22 years ago, somebody who's actually a defunct person who's not past his utility date, but somebody who's sitting there and radicalizing and directing this al-Qaeda cadre in a direction which the Chinese find it inconvenient?
Well, absolutely, Anand. There's a famous saying in Hindi that Zinda Hati Lakh Ka or Mara Hati Sawa Lakh Ka. So I think that scenario is pretty true for this, that, China maybe growingly, it was feeling the heat of his actions and the inconvenience that he was causing to the entire, separatism issue that China is dealing with. So I think it's quite convenient for all the parties involved. China definitely could give United States its own moment of glory, like you said. Taliban needed money, they needed its assets to be unfrozen, and Pakistan also needs to go off the hook in terms of FATF, and all the parties were getting what they wanted. So definitely 21 long years, we are in the year 2022, and this happened in the year 2001. So definitely he had outlived his utility, and it was quite convenient to get him eliminated from the scene. And this is how, globally the chessboards are operated, that if the actors don't find one asset that they have cultivated for so long, then no matter how much al-Qaeda and Taliban have been close to each other, it doesn't matter. What matters is that, their own self-interest is preserved. So I think in the contemporary scenario, it definitely was sort of inconvenient to keep him in, to keep him alive. And if they are getting something in return, if he is dead, then definitely that's the Sawa Lakh Wala Hati, which is Mara Hua, coming to their help.
Well, we've got something which is fantastic. Now, the question that we are asking is, was it a Taliban group, not necessarily the Haqqani group, but was it the Taliban group, a Taliban group which was behind or which was involved this plot to kill the Qaeda chief? So Pakistan and, of course, one of the factions of the Taliban, did they collude to get rid of Ayman al-Zawahiri? Now, this is what is a key eyewitness account. Key eyewitness account that we've got just now, and we're going to put that out, ladies and gentlemen. This person was a translator, and this person was deep there. He was right there with other members, officials, because we have put out here at CNN News 18 that there were active engagements or negotiations going on with the Qaeda chief to try and move him out of Afghan soil. So one of these meetings was also scheduled, and there were other members who were present there actively engaging with Ayman al-Zawahiri. So this is the eyewitness account, and let's go straight across to this eyewitness account. Big breaking news that's just coming through the eyewitness account that we have. The eyewitness account of the attack very clearly, and this is a CNN News 18 exclusive, that the attack happened at around 6:15 a.m. in the Sherpur area of Kabul. The attack site was close to the all foreign diplomatic missions. Zawahiri was actually in a guest house in the Afghan government complex. Pakistan TTP delegation was also staying near this guest house. So the Pak Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan delegation was actually staying near this guest house. So another terror outfit which was active and which was staying near where al-Qaeda chief was staying. Sirajuddin Haqqani, soon after the strike, rushed out of Kabul to Logar. This is 40 kilometers from Kabul in 5 armored vehicles. That's what escorted him. He moved to Kabul in 4 to 6 armored vehicles. And Sirajuddin Haqqani feared that there will be a strike against him too. He will also be neutralized. So what Tariq Farhadi just said, it's corroborated by the eyewitness account and the details that we are getting. Top 40 Taliban leaders have actually exited Kabul and moved to Logar and Khost, even as we speak, because they all carry bounties on their head. And this is clear open factionalism, what we can also see. Some of them have moved to Logar, some of them have moved to Khost, and they are moving out of Kabul. Sirajuddin Haqqani actually moved out thinking that he could be neutralized too, because there is a bounty on his head too. Tariq Farhadi. So clearly there are factions within the Taliban. And if an Ayman al-Zawahiri is taken out, Sirajuddin Haqqani could have thought that meri bhi bari hai. But will the Pakistanis give up Haqqani too? Because he is seen as Pakistan's man in the Taliban government there.
Yes, but the Americans wouldn't take out Haqqani at this time. In fact, one of the questions that President Biden had asked his team is, if we do this attack, how would the Taliban react? So this was just, the Americans needed al-Zawahiri. He was a sort of a moniker, a brand to take out. And it's convenient for campaign purposes, for the 1-year anniversary of America out of Afghanistan, for the elections in November. It's convenient. But beyond that, the Americans would like Taliban to reform, to stabilize Afghanistan. The Americans are not after toppling the Taliban regime. Yes, they might be after reinforcing some factions rather than others, or rebalancing the power, because after on August 15, 2021, basically when the Haqqani faction came into Kabul and took the presidential palace and important ministries, the Mullah brother was watching all of this from Doha. So when he arrived 10 days later, all the good positions, the money positions, the Ministry of Finance, the central bank, all of that was taken, basically. So, yeah, the Americans might be after rebalancing the situation and also introducing other Afghan politicians in order to create some sort of stability in Afghanistan. But they are certainly not after taking Haqqani out. If they were, they would have done it already.
Well, clearly, so that question down has to change. It's not the Haqqani group behind the plot, a Taliban group, one of the factions of the Taliban group. Is it behind the plot? So we will just change that at the bottom of our screen. But now we got more news coming through. The NRF, the National Resistance Front, has issued a statement, and that's coming through. So this is the Ahmad Shah Massoud faction, which is a rebel faction. They've issued a statement saying that the al-Qaeda still has a good chance for revival. The presence of al-Qaeda in Kabul is a clear sign that Afghanistan has once again become a hub and sanctuary for terrorist groups. This poses a serious challenge to the security of the region and the world. The National Resistance Front has demanded cooperation of all nations. So this is what is the reaction that's come in from the Tajik faction and those who are there up in the mountains and trying to push out a rebellion and still try and fight out. So Amrullah Saleh is in Tajikistan. The NRF operatives are still there. There is still that particular region, even though they are trying to go after Ahmad Shah Massoud's son at this point. But Tariq Farhadi, coming back to you, and then Monica Verma, how would you see the NRF's response? Is there merit in what they are saying, that Taliban has become a sanctuary, a hub for terror factions? Now the eyewitness says Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan was present there. Al-Qaeda chief is present there. We know in Nangarhar, Jaish and Lashkar camps are currently on.
It is not news, basically. NRF is just riding on the wave and issuing a communique on this. But this is not news. Everybody knows that all these people are inside Afghanistan, all these terror groups, and no country wants to take them. That's the problem. Even if Zawahiri wanted to go somewhere else, who would take him? The Americans knew that it's a problem for the Taliban to keep these people, but they have to keep them in check, basically, and without any propaganda and military activity. This is the difficulty. And the Taliban are playing the TTP against Pakistan as a strategic depth inside Pakistan. In fact, they are facilitating negotiations with the TTP for Pakistanis, but they are not asking the TTP to conclude these negotiations. They are not putting any type of pressure. If the Taliban were serious about helping Pakistan on the account of TTP, they should just disarm the TTP inside Afghanistan. The TTP is a few thousand people. They can just disarm them, but they don't. They want to use the TTP in the scale of balance against Pakistan to negotiate other things with Pakistan. So it's a complicated situation.
Monica Verma, how would you see these developments? Now the NRF says that Afghanistan has become a terror hub. It is evident with Zawahiri present, TTP present, Lashkar present, Jaish present. Sirajuddin Haqqani, when questioned by us, he says, no, Afghanistan is not a terror hub. So from their point of view, do they not consider them terrorists at all? So then he is not being economical with facts. For the world, they may be terrorists. For the Taliban, they are heroes. They are those who stood with them in testing, trying times.
Actually, if you look at the Doha agreement and the negotiations that were going on, this was one part which was most protracted, so to say, that took the longest time for United States to, convince the Taliban to not allow Afghan soil to be used for terrorist activities against US and its alliance partners. So I think, at that time, Taliban was in a conciliatory mode and, they agreed to it, and they definitely, al-Qaeda was not mentioned in the agreement, so to say specifically, but, there was sort of a agreement between the two parties, between United States and Taliban, that from now onwards, if there is any sort of legitimacy that will be extended to the Taliban regime in Afghanistan, Taliban will not play with fire and not allow these terror activities to continue on Afghan soil. But now, as things have turned out, in fact, since 2017 only, there were reports that were coming in of different al-Qaeda leaders finding a safe sanctuary in Afghanistan, and all the other terror actors, getting a place of safety, and Taliban not pointing that out, still providing all kind of support. And with the killing of Ayman al-Zawahiri, I think it's exposed. We know that Taliban as an actor cannot be trusted, and this is something which was writing on the wall. It was long coming. They did agree during the Doha agreement to not allow the Afghan soil to be used for terror activities, but now it stands exposed, and no one can challenge this, and everyone knows what the reality is.
True. Now, Tariq Farhadi says that the Haqqanis did not know, or the Haqqanis were not involved. The information that we have got is that it was a Haqqani aides, Sirajuddin Haqqani's aides house in Sherpur, where right in the heart of this entire defense area, intelligence area, secret services area, where Ayman al-Zawahiri was housed. So clearly Sirajuddin Haqqani knew his whereabouts. Now when we spoke to Sirajuddin Haqqani, Tariq Farhadi, please listen to this. This is 15 hours before the strike happened. We spoke to Sirajuddin Haqqani on Friday 29th of July. On Saturday, 30th of July at 6:15 a.m., Ayman al-Zawahiri was neutralized. This is what Sirajuddin Haqqani said about al-Qaeda.
As we have promised to the world, also the Islamic world is in arms against the ISIS. To control and throw it out, many steps have been taken. With regard to al-Qaeda, it has no presence in Afghanistan and is no more a threat, and the world is required not to feel threatened about the already dead outfit. Some Western forces which are trying to destabilize the country are being taken care of by the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan to control and contain these forces.
So he says Daesh Khorasan is trouble. And ISKP, we know, is gaining a lot of traction and it's becoming an issue for the Taliban also. But he says the al-Qaeda is not a potent force and is as good as dead. Sounds quite ominous because 15 hours later, as good as dead because Ayman al-Zawahiri is dead.
Ayman al-Zawahiri, alive or dead, al-Qaeda is a weaker organization than what it was 22 years ago. In fact, it lost its importance when Osama bin Laden was killed because he was a charismatic individual. He was also the person who was bringing the funds, funding from the countries where he coming from. So al-Zawahiri is an Egyptian theoretician. He has never, a lot of the al-Qaeda people didn't really pledge allegiance to al-Zawahiri. They were more interested in bin Laden, and when bin Laden is gone, basically the next organization is ISIS, is Daesh. This is what the world is concerned about, Daesh and ISIS, because they have tentacles in Syria, in Iraq, and it can have activity elsewhere. And the Americans also, basically the latest scores that Trump killed the Daesh leader there. Was it in Iraq, I believe?
Right.
And so al-Qaeda is an organization which has lost a lot of steam right now. I think Haqqani putting up al-Zawahiri in this guest house was just a moral obligation because they have been around together for the last 30 years fighting the Soviets and then fighting all kinds of adversities together. And now he's a powerful man.
Absolutely. Tariq Farhadi and Monica Verma, thank you very much. Have to go across some big development coming in closer home. We're going back to Afghanistan and al-Qaeda in just a bit. But this is in the national capital. The Enforcement Directorate has sealed the National Herald office. So there were day-long raids that happened. The Congress tried to protest it. But now they have sealed the Enforcement Directorate has sealed the National Herald premises, where they have now said that these premises now cannot be opened without prior permission from the agency. We're trying to go across to Siddhant for more details. Yes, Siddhant, why has the ED sealed the office? Siddhant, can you hear me?
Well, yes. This is a piece of information that we are getting right now and in fact, it's a very big development in the entire National Herald investigation that is currently being carried out by Enforcement Directorate. And the information is that the National Herald office at ITO in New Delhi has been sealed by Enforcement Directorate. And in fact, the instructions have been given that without the prior permission of the federal agency, the office will not open. Remember, Anand, that particular building also has a passport office, and it's the main passport office in the New Delhi area.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to see whether passport services will also get disrupted.
No, we are given to understand. Ashish Merishi has just given us an update that it's only the office of Young Indian in the Herald House that has been sealed. So it's not that all of the Herald House has been sealed. It's only the office of Young Indian in Herald House that has been seized. So it has been seized because no one was available in the office and thus they were not able to complete the search. So that's why they have sealed the office. We'll try and connect with Ashish Merishi on the phone line for more details. Ashish sharing inputs right now that the National Herald office, that is the Young Indian office at the Herald House, that's what's been sealed. And it has been sealed because they were not able to find anybody there. And that's why they have sealed that office, because nobody can open that office or enter that premise till the time the Enforcement Directorate is alerted or informed about the same. The ED has sealed the premises so that search can be conducted in the presence of office bearers. And Ashish Merishi now joining us. So in the Herald House, the office of Young Indian has been sealed. Ashish.
Yeah. So, whenever there is a search happening, the search needs to happen if the accused is not arrested, then it should happen in the presence of the accused. So here, none of the office bearers of Young Indian were available at the time of the search, when the search was conducted in the Herald House. You remember there is a small office of Young Indian as well in the Herald House. So the search needs to be completed, and for that they need office bearer in the premises. Since there was no office bearer, so they have sealed the premises, saying that the search needs to be completed. So whenever the office bearers are available, they will be called and the search will be completed in the office of Young Indian as well.
So when you're talking about office bearers, who are the office bearers of Young Indian, and when will they be called? Is the Enforcement Directorate, were they able to enter that office yesterday, or was it locked all through the day?
So it was basically locked. You can't break the lock until and unless the premises is basically, if the owner of the premises needs to be there when the search is conducted. So in this case as well, the office was basically locked. None of the office bearers were available at that point in time. They were not able to complete the search.
Right.
So the process of search needs to be completed. And Young Indian was one of the premises that was supposed to be searched. So here, the office is sealed only because the office bearers were not there. So once the search is completed, then obviously the office can be opened. But because the search procedure was not completed, that is why it has been sealed as of now, and it will be opened in the presence of the office bearers. The office bearers obviously are the shareholders, which include Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, and we know Motilal Vora is no longer there, Oscar Fernandez is no longer there.
Right.
People like Pawan Kumar Bansal, Mallikarjuna Khadge, all these people can be called who are the current office bearers of Young Indian. In their presence, the search can be completed.
Right. I've got Dr. Subramanian Swamy also with us on the phone line. Dr. Swamy, so now the Young Indian office sealed by the Enforcement Directorate because nobody was present. So the office bearers will have to come, they say.
Well, whether no one was present or not, the thing is that they must get access to the documents. The ED must get access to the documents. And in my opinion, till they have completed that process, I can't see them handing the office back. Because during the interrogation, it was quite clear that they washed their hands off, saying that we have nothing to do with this whole operation that was carried out for acquiring AJL. And it was really Motilal Vora, and he's dead and gone. So the ED had no alternative but to go for the documents in full. And therefore, this is one place where there were documents kept, and they perhaps were of the view that, the Congress people may have been of the view that nobody can come. But you must understand, the Urban Development Ministry has already acquired the building.
Right.
It doesn't belong to... in legal terms, it is not in the possession of the Associated Journalists Limited or Young Indian. And this is just a pure technicality, because once you enter somebody's office, nobody should accuse you tomorrow of having stolen the documents. So you have to have some of them present as witnesses to certify that they took the documents and they have given in writing what they have taken.
But is there a possibility they could turn around and say there are no office bearers now?
Well, they may say even there's no young Indian anymore. They're all old Indians. Well, I think they were only making their own position more ridiculous by evading, putting the name of Motilal Vora as their sole operator. That itself was a mighty disgrace to human society.
Well, Dr. Swamy, you have followed this case, and you've also taken them to court, and you've got a verdict in the Delhi High Court, and there was a bail that was given to some of those who were found as charged at that point in time in 2015. But now Mr. Nasir Hussain is with us from the Congress Party. Mr. Nasir Hussain, the Young Indian office at Herald House has been sealed because the ED believes they want to complete the search. They couldn't, and they need the presence of the office bearers.
I think now most of the documents that are supposed to be there are online. Everything is digitalized. if they really wanted some documents, they could have always asked the office bearers or the directors of Young Indian Office, the directors of AGL, or the office bearers looking after the newspapers. So no, the point here, the whole point here is, whatever the case may be, it is, and the Gandhis and the other directors who have been summoned and given notice by ED, they have cooperated with the ED. They have very honestly said whatever the transaction that took place, whatever the decision that took place, everything has been divulged to the ED. In all honesty. Now, what is more important here is anything you need, any papers, anything, any transactions, whatever is there, it is there on paper. Nothing has been, no money has been laundered. No property has been registered in some individual's name. Neither the Gandhis nor any of the directors. So it is a black and white. It is an open and shut case.
Well, that's your that's your point of view, and I told you and you are entitled to that point of view. But it's the courts now which will have to decide who's right and who's wrong. But my question, sir, is with the Young Indian Office, since you are saying that everybody is cooperating. Are you willing to say that the office bearers will be present tomorrow morning and let the ED conduct their search in their presence and let's get it done with?
See, if the ED wants any direction, any document, whether it's the ED or any other central agency which is interrogating or which is investigating into any case, if they ask for the documents will be given. So now,
no, they are saying they want to conduct a search in the premises in the presence of the office bearers. So since you are saying that there is full cooperation coming in from members of Young Indian or members of Associate Journals and the trustees or the office bearers, I'm asking you, will they be present tomorrow morning? Or will they offer to be present tomorrow morning for the ED to complete their search?
This is ridiculous. Why I say this? Because when the Gandhis and the other directors of Young Indian and AGL have already cooperated. So where does the question arise of not cooperating if they really want to do a search or if they really want some documents or they have any doubts?
That's exactly what I'm saying. The ED is...
They will be there.
Yeah.
The very fact that they have cooperated all these days...
So they will be there. So you're saying that if the office bearers have to be present tomorrow morning also, if required, they'll be there so that the office can be... unsealed, opened, and then the search can be completed.
Whenever the ED wants.
Okay.
We have made it very clear, our leadership has made it very clear, the Gandhis have made it very clear that whenever ED wants anything, we are ready for interrogation. Whenever ED wants any documents, they can happily take...
No, they want to conduct a search of the premises. Right now, it's not about interrogation or getting any documents. They want to conduct a search of the premises, that is the Young Indian Office. They want the presence of the office bearer. So you're saying that they are willing to be present there?
Yeah, whatever documents they want, whatever information they want, whatever papers they want, they can have it. Now, since there's a case going on, since there's an investigation going on, they can have it. But I'm coming to the other point. See, what is more important here is you have to always look at the other side of the story. Now the government is only using this case to humiliate, to discredit Congress party and the Gandhis.
Okay.
It's a clear case of political vendetta.
Okay.
It is not just against the Gandhis. Party. Most of the leaders of the
let me ask Dr. Subramanian Swamy, is this just political vendetta, sir? Is there no fire and there is no smoke? Dr. Swamy? I'm going to check if Dr. Swamy is there. He is the complainant in this matter. And what the Congress MP, Mr. Nasir Hussain, has said is that this is nothing but political vendetta. I have R.P. Singh with us, Sardar R.P. Singh. So this is political vendetta. There is nothing to prove.
Well, I was just hearing the panelists from the Congress party. You were saying that just to discourage the party and individuals. I mean, you have been already discouraged in the people's eye. That's why you have not been voted again and again. That's why people been voting against you in state after state. So it's not issue of discourage, it's issue of following a proper track of the agencies, proper track of the case, so the agencies are doing their work. work, and then we'll appreciate the Congress party member of the Young India should come and help the agencies and
no, what they are saying is that there is nothing to prove. This is nothing but a deliberate attempt to humiliate the Gandhis and the Congress party. Because it's all on paper. There is no money laundered. There is no property that has been acquired by an individual. So you are just doing this out of political vendetta to humiliate the Gandhis and the Congress party. That's what Mr. Nasir Hussain is saying.
Okay, Anand, if they have anything against the procedures, they can go to court and then ask the court to intervene and then halt the procedures. I mean, they are out on bail. I mean, if that would have a case, then why would they be out on bail? One. Secondly, I mean, they can keep saying that there's no money laundered, there's no money transaction. The fact is that asset worth 2,000 crore rupees have been taken away by a family-owned company. They say, the next round they say is that, this company is a not profit-making company. But the company's, the expenditure of the company is decided by family members. Tomorrow, the travels of the board of directors or any other expenditure which is required will be decided by the board of directors. So, who's going to do a check on that? And that's why the control of that asset and whatever is being accrued from those assets in form of rent or any other form will be in the benefit of the board of directors.
Mr. Nasir Hussain?
See, I want to just make 2 points in this. Point number one is Mr. R.B. Singh was speaking about the discrediting of the Congress party. I just want to remind him and let the viewers listen to this. See, they campaigned about the 2G scam when the UPA government was there. They campaigned, they tried to discredit, they said Congress party is corrupt, they tried to humiliate the Gandhis and Mr. Manmohan Singh and so on. Finally, what came out of that case? The CBI court says that a mountain was created out of a mole in a non-existent scam. These are the wordings in the judgment. Non-existent scam. So you tried to discredit. You said that they are corrupt, and you did all the time, and then you came in the power.
So you are likening it to the same campaign as 2G.
For BJP to win the election, they need to create non-existing scams. Try to discredit
that is what
individuals, leaders, and
I'll get Sardar R.P. Singh's reaction. Mr. Nasir Hussain, please. I've just got another update. We've got the notice. We've got the notice that has been put up right outside the Young Indian office as it's been sealed. It says it is hereby ordered that the premises not be opened without prior permission from the Directorate of Enforcement, B Block, Pravartan Bhavan, and Abdul Kalam Road, New Delhi. And it's signed by the Assistant Directorate of Enforcement, and it's dated the 3rd of August 2022. So this is the entire notice. I'm just reading out the details. So now let's get Sardar R.P. Singh's response to Nasir Hussain's allegation that you said 2G mein ghotala hai, court said no ghotala. Here again you are drumming up a scam where there is none.
Well, 2G was not us. 2G was erected up by the CAG, not by us, the Comptroller General of the Auditor General of country. So that's why we picked up that issue. And now even this is as per the court order. I mean, BJP has nothing to do in particular to do in this case. Is by Mr. Subramanian Swamy went to the court, there's a court order, and everything is done as per the court order. So, I mean, that's what I said. If there's anything, let them go to the court. But when they say that they have nothing to do with the money which will be accrued from the rental or otherwise, but that company doesn't publish anything as per me. I have not seen any.
I'm going to limit it to the current position right now. The Enforcement Directorate is conducting its investigation. The burden of proof lies on the prosecution. But Mr. Nasir Hussain, I'm going to come back to this Young Indian office in the National Herald House. Will the office bearers present themselves and say, whenever you want, we are waiting here. Come, conduct your search and look at whatever you want to do. Have a look.
Allowing me to complete my
yes, please complete
my part.
Ji.
See, I said two things. I spoke about the 2G scam. The second point was, see, as I told you earlier, there's no money laundered, There's no property in any individual's name. And the third point is nobody can either take money from Young India, either take property from Young India, and whatever the revenue comes out of it, or whatever if the property gets converted into a bigger property in the days to come, it will remain only with Young India. There is no non-profit making company. It is very clear. Neither Rahul Gandhi, nor Sonia Gandhi, nor any of the directors can take any money out of that. So that is very clear on that. And now I have made it. See whatever ED is doing till now, all the directors. It is not just Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Srimati Sonia Gandhi ji, but also Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, Mr. Bansal, all of them, all these directors have cooperated. They have went to the ED office. They have been questioned for over 50, 60 hours. They have cooperated. And any searches, any documents, any papers, whatever they want, all the office bearers, all the directors have already been cooperating. They will also further cooperate, because everyone there is nothing in this. This is only to discredit, humiliate.
Well, like I keep saying, you are entitled to your point of view. The BJP is entitled to their point of view. At the end of the day, it's a matter that the Enforcement Directorate has to prove in court, and the courts will have to decide. This is also a record and a matter of fact that in 2015, bail was given after the charges against and the complainants' charges were upheld by the Delhi High Court. So there is the National Herald case. Should it be looked in conjunction with some of the other aspects? That's another aspect. I have Mr. Karthi Chidambaram also with us on the phone line. Namaste, Mr. Karthi Chidambaram. This is Anand Narasimhan here. The Enforcement Directorate right now has sealed the Young Indian office in Herald House. They have said that they want to conduct a search of the premises in the presence of the office bearers. Mr. Karthi Chidambaram, can you hear me? Well, I think we'll try and connect with him again. Mr. Nasir Hussain, Sardar RP Singh, thank you very much for speaking with us. We're going to take a very short break here on The Nation at 5. Stay with us.